And thank you, Matt. Matt's doing an amazing job filling in for Erin while she's gone. So we're going to have a little show and tell here this morning, just so you know. So this month we're focusing on deepening our practice of meditation, and there are a number of ways in which our community is creating things to help us do that. And one is, as you know, the 40-day meditation, which we began a couple weeks ago. And even if you didn't begin it a couple weeks ago, you can join in at any time. We have an 11-minute chant that is available in the lobby and also probably the bookstore with a little booklet for you to record your thoughts. And this 40-day meditation culminates on World Day of Prayer, which is September 12th. And Sada and I will be leading a worship service on that night. Also, I know many of you are coming here at 9:30 for the meditation. How many of you guys meditated this morning look at that, look around. You can feel it when you walk in the room that it's like this generator has been created even before the service has begun. So we have the 9:30 meditation in the chapel for the next 2 weeks. And this afternoon, Barbara Thorpe is going to be leading a discussion and a meditation in the chapel. Barbara is our licensed Unity teacher. She's an experienced meditator, and she's a prayer extraordinaire. You want prayers, Barbara Thorpe can deliver. And probably most importantly, next Saturday, John Welshons will be leading a workshop in meditation as well as next Sunday afternoon. And this is an opportunity to deepen your practice, so I invite you to sign up in the lobby. He has been meditating for 30 or 40 years. It's a Vipassana meditation, so whether you're new at it or experienced, we invite you to join us for that. So truthfully, the art of inner listening, the art of meditation can be summed up in the words of Jesus when he said, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and everything else will be added unto you." He said, "Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." In the book of Matthew, he says, "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and vermin destroy, where thieves break in and steal, but store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moths and vermin do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there is your heart. Seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well." These words, when I hear them from Jesus, sound very Buddhist to me because it's about non-attachment. I mean, Jesus is basically telling us that, the world is always in flux, the world is always changing, and when we start to attach ourselves to our role or even our bodies or any material possession, that guess what? Eventually that material possession is going to go away, including the physical body is going to someday go away. So when we seek first the kingdom, when we are focusing on our inner lives, then we can stand stable and true when all the changes in life start happening, right? Because it's always changing. The thing that we know about being alive on this planet is that things are going to change. It is what is. And so the question is, how do we handle that kind of change? Meditation is one of the ways that we do that, because it reminds us of who we are. It helps us to touch in to the eternal one that exists within and all around us. It lets us know that there's more to this reality, there's more to this life than just what we can touch and taste and see and feel, that it touches into a different world. Without meditation, we can find perhaps that our thoughts are just rampant, and it's very hard to control them, and we're off here and we're off there, and we go off in a million places. And I know last month was humor, but I did find this thing it's called age onset ADD, and maybe many of you have seen it, but I want to share it with you because it does speak to what happens to our thoughts sometimes and how they can run amok. And so a woman begins her day saying, "I decide to water my garden, and as I turn on the hose in the driveway, I look over at my car, and I see that my car actually needs washing. So I start toward the garage, but I notice mail on the porch table that I brought in from the mailbox earlier. So I think it's a good idea to go through the mail before I wash the car, and then I lay my car keys on the table. I put the junk mail in the garbage can that's under the table, and I notice, guess what? The garbage can is full. So I think I'll put the bills back on the table. I'll take out the garbage. Oh, but then, since I'm near the mailbox, I'm going to take out the garbage. Maybe what I should do really is pay the bills. So I take my checkbook off the table. I see there's only one check left, and my extra checks are on the desk in the study. So I'm going to go in the house into the desk and find, and there on the desk is a can of Pepsi that I left before. So before I can look for my checks, I need to take the Pepsi so that I don't knock it over. And then the Pepsi's getting warm, so I got to put it in the refrigerator so that it keeps cold. And then as I head toward the kitchen with the Pepsi, there's a vase of flowers on the counter that catches my eye because they need water. All right. Does anybody ever have a day like this? I put the Pepsi on the counter, then I discover my reading glasses that I've been searching for all morning. Then I decide I better put them back on my desk, but first I got to water the flowers. Then I set the glasses back on the counter, fill a container with water, and then I see the TV remote. Someone left it on the kitchen table, and I realize that if we're going to watch TV later, we're going to need the remote, but we won't remember that it's in the kitchen, so we need to bring it into the living room. But first I've got to water those flowers. So I pour some water in the flowers, but it spills on the floor. So then I have to set the remote back on the table so that I can wipe up the spill. But then I head down the hall trying to remember what I was planning to do. At the end of the day, the car isn't washed, the bills aren't paid, there's a warm can of Pepsi sitting on the counter, the flowers don't have enough water, there's still only one check in the checkbook, I can't find the remote or my glasses. I don't remember what I did with the car keys, and then when I try to figure out why nothing got done today, I'm really baffled because I know I was busy all day. And the truth is, we do have days like that, and the truth is that when we learn to sit in silence and become quiet, it's not that we don't get a little ADD-ish or forget what we're doing or wander around a little bit and get distracted, but the chances are probably a little less, because as we meditate, as we learn to slow down and focus and be in the moment, we're present to what is. We're present to what's happening, and we're present to the moment, because it calms the mind and it slows down the heart. Swami Sivananda said that meditation is painful in the beginning, but it bestows immortal bliss and supreme joy in the end. And that sounds like a great payoff to me. Immortal bliss and supreme joy. And the truth is that meditation can be a struggle to reach in a place of quiet. So you'll notice that we have a pitcher of water, and the Sunday school actually did the first Sunday because they're also studying meditation. And so we put some glitter in the water, and basically this is what finding the TV remote, and then you're going to wash the car, but you don't know where the car keys are, and things kind of get stirred up a little, right? Or your emotions are a little stirred. And when we meditate, what happens is we start to slow down, and we see the spinning start to become a little quieter, and we see things begin to settle. So if we would imagine that the glitter, the sand that is in this water is our thoughts, we know that as we get quiet, as we become still, it becomes less. And then when we get all stirred up again and our thoughts are running here and there, then they just slow down once again and we stop. And this is the process of meditation, isn't it? It's like when we sit and meditate, it's like, okay, I'm quiet, I've got the silence, and oh gosh, I forgot about, this thing I was supposed to do, I didn't do it, oh my gosh. And then it's like, okay, just let that thought go and come back. And that's the process of meditation. And the thing is, it's not about doing it perfectly or doing it right. It's simply about learning to listen to that voice, learning to listen and be still and not be hard on ourselves because we ended up getting stirred up, right? It's about not chasing those thoughts. Because when we start chasing those thoughts, we get lost. So there was a Buddhist teacher who said that there were two meditators, and they were practicing Vipassana meditation. And because this is the meditation month, I do want to take you through a process of the Vipassana meditation, because we're trying on all the different forms of meditation this month. But a Buddhist teacher said that there were two meditators. And the first meditator, as he was meditating, had a lot of angry thoughts. And the angry thoughts would come, and he would just let them go. And the angry thoughts would come, and he would let them go. Now, the second meditator was having all these wonderful thoughts about the Buddhist teachings and about how wonderful life was. And he just kept having all these great thoughts about how everything was just so wonderful. Which one was the Vipassana meditator? The first one, because even though the thoughts were angry, he let them go. And the Buddhists would tell us that it doesn't matter the thoughts that are in your mind, let them go. Just release them. Even if they're the most wonderful, positive, happy thoughts in the universe, no attachment, let them go. And if they're the angry thoughts, let them go. So we do it without judgment. We do it with gentleness. So that said, let us practice some Vipassana meditation. Now, we did a form of it. We really did a little bit of it during our earlier meditation today. For me, the key with Vipassana is the gentleness, is to recognize that when the thought has wandered, because you hear a sound or you thought of something, to not go, oops, I'm doing it wrong. Oops, I'm not meditating. It's just to go, a thought about work. Back to the breath. A thought about my dog. Oh, bring it back. A thought about what I have to do later today. Bring it back. So in the process of meditation, it's important that we find a place where we can do it, where we won't be distracted. So in your home, that would be a place not where your cell phone is. It would be a place that is quiet. And in meditation, so we don't fall asleep and get sleepy, we don't want to be like hunched over and laying down and kind of stretched out, but we want our back straight, not stiff, but straight. And this allows the Kundalini energy to flow up and down our spine. So I invite you to move into that position of waiting, into that position of readiness, into that position of listening. So in Vipassana, we're not repeating a mantra, we're not chanting, we're simply observing the breath. As you observe the breath, I invite you to feel the air moving through your nostrils, perhaps your stomach moving, your abdomen moving up and down. And I'm going to be quiet. And I'm just going to invite you, and we're going to do this for like 4 minutes probably. Watching the breath, being gentle when you catch a thought. Beginning now. And I invite you to take a deep breath and follow your breath back to this time and place. And what I feel in this space, since we all just did this together, is there's a deepening. It's like there's a real deepening of the space around us. And how many of you notice that your thoughts occasionally would maybe stir up a little and then just calm down again, and then stir up a little and then calm down again? And the thing is, we know they will calm down again if we just continue to give it the space and we continue to give it the quiet. A Taoist philosopher said that there was a man who was displeased by the sight of his own shadow, and he was displeased by the sound of his footsteps. A little crazy guy, I guess. So he started running to try to get away from his shadow. He started running to try to get away from his footsteps, and he ran and he ran and he ran. He's running until all of a sudden he just falls over dead one day. And the truth is, this teacher said, that if he had stepped into the shade, his shadow would have vanished. And if he had sat down and stayed still, there'd be no more footprints. The running is our thoughts. Yeah? The shadow is that part of us that sometimes we may not want to acknowledge that's chasing us around. And it's becoming still that it slows it down. So the question becomes then, how do we use these practices in life? Because this is all well and good. We're at church and we're meditating and it's all great. And then you go out into the world, and what does this look like when we bring it out into the world? What effect does spiritual practice have on the rest of our lives? Last week we practiced loving kindness. May I be free from danger. May I have mental happiness. May I have physical happiness. And may I have ease of well-being. So Linda Michalik is also one of our board members and does a lot of things around here. She was practicing loving kindness last week, and I've asked her to tell a little bit of her story about something that happened this last week. It's on, you just have to.
Monday, having my normal Monday. I was getting ready for work, and I do a meditation, and I've been doing the 11-minute meditation in the morning, and I believe I'm always where I'm supposed to be. So as I'm leaving for the bus, and it was not my normal bus time, it was a little later, my contractor shows up, and again, it wasn't planned, and I just was like, yep, I was supposed to see him. There were some things that we could talk about better face-to-face than, through emails. So it was like, okay. So that put me a little later for the bus. And as I'm walking up to the bus, I hear one go by. And it was, some days I'll feel like I need to run for it, and some days I just let it go. But on Monday, I also got this sense of peace of, no, you're supposed to be on the next bus. And again, I trust that, and it has always been right. I'm always where I'm supposed to be. So I wait for the next bus and get on, and I sit in the back, and it's just a bus ride. And I come into town, and I get on.
Do your loving kindness prayer at the beginning of the bus?
Oh, thank you. So yes, thank you. So when I get on the bus, and I've been doing this for a couple of years, that I pray. I just do a prayer for everybody on the bus, and because we had just learned the loving kindness one, I did that as my prayer on Monday when I got on the bus. And I always finish the prayer by giving thanks and saying, I give thanks to the bus driver for getting us to our destination safely. And then just go on with the bus ride. On Monday, as some of you may know, there was a shooting downtown. And the shooter started at Oriah and then ended up at 2nd and Seneca. My bus was at that bus at the stoplight at 2nd and Seneca when the shooter started banging on the door of our bus. I didn't know any of this. I was just getting ready to go out. My backpack was on. I was getting ready to get off. But this wave of humans just starts coming towards the back of the bus. One gentleman pops the emergency window and jumps out. And I don't know. I go to the floor, a young man says, stay down, and I hear 3 shots and don't know that this person isn't on the bus. I get afraid that my backpack's going to show, and what if it's a shooter? But we don't know, and at some point, a little while later, the police have us leave the bus, and they don't tell us, it's not their role right then to tell us. They just say, stay right here. So it's not until later in the morning that I know what happened. And I didn't know what, I knew from early that morning I was supposed to be on that bus. And didn't know why. And didn't know why until Thursday. I was sharing it with the board and said to Reverend Karen, oh, I said the loving kindness prayer when I got on the bus. And it was like, I think that's why I was supposed to be there.
So on the first bus, the bus driver was shot.
Right.
And on the second bus, he didn't get on the bus, or he did
Well,
get on.
he did get on the bus, which none of us knew because our bus driver had everybody go to the back. So when the guy did get on, only the bus driver was in the front of my bus, and he went to the ground, and the police immediately shot the shooter. So he died on my bus, but we didn't know any of that. They took him off, and I didn't know any of that actually until a couple days later. Yeah.
So, I mean, this is about bringing spirituality into our lives. That's why we're bringing this story to you, because she said the loving kindness prayer. And so the question that comes up is, okay, so there's 2 ways to look at this. One is, she said the loving kindness prayer, and hey, the shooter ends up coming to their bus. What, does prayer mean nothing? That's one way.
Yes, it is.
The other way to look at it is, she said the loving kindness prayer for everyone on the bus, and none of the passengers or the bus driver was killed on her bus. Was the person drawn to her bus for a reason? I mean, these are the things that we don't know. These are the answers that we don't have. But they're questions, I think, for us to live with. And it's also about bringing this sense of, our spiritual practices, our meditation practices out into the world, because we are faced, hopefully not too often, but sometimes these things come up. So I want to thank Linda for sharing the story. Please thank her. There will always be places in our lives where thieves break in, where possessions are stolen, where things fall apart, where the body falls apart, where things don't work according to the way we think they should go. There may be days where we, on an ordinary day, get on a bus to ride to work, and the day's events turn into something horrific. Things happen that put us into a spin. Life events happen that put us into a spin. Our practice is to not become overly attached to the spin, but to do as Jesus said, which is to seek first the kingdom of God. Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. It allows us to withstand the changes, the ups and the downs that life brings us. So I invite you to take seriously your meditation practice and to deepen it. If you need help and assistance, we have teachers here at Seattle Unity to help you. Remember, Sivananda said that meditation may be painful in the beginning, but it bestows immortal bliss and supreme joy in the end. Your meditation practice helps to settle those thoughts that might keep you awake at night, or that might keep you looking for your car keys or the remote or whatever that may be. Your meditation time brings clarity of mind. Your meditation practice reminds you of who you really are. And your meditation practice leads you to know who you are called to be at a very deep and profound level. meditate.